Welcome to the Provost Podcast at Siena Heights University, your source for academic highlights, faculty and student spotlights, and the news from around campus. Join Dr. Gina Rossetti and her guests as they explore the stories that make Siena Heights a community of excellence and growth.
Hello and welcome. Today we are exploring one of our campus's most impactful initiatives, the McNair Scholars Program. This program supports first-generation, lower-income, and underrepresented students as they prepare for graduate school to pursue doctoral degrees. To tell us more about this important and impactful program, we have the director of the McNair Scholars Program at Siena Heights, Trevor Willis. Trevor is a proud TRIO alumnus who participated in the McNair Scholars Program at Siena Heights University. After finishing his undergraduate degree, Trevor started working for the McNair Scholars Program at Siena Heights while pursuing his master's in organizational leadership. Trevor was a part of the 2022-2023 Emerging Leaders Institute cohort, hosted by the Educational Opportunity Association, which is the Midwest Association of TRIO Professionals. Trevor is currently pursuing his PhD at Oklahoma State University in Educational Leadership and Policy Studies, where he is also a McNair Graduate Research Fellow. Welcome, Trevor.
Awesome. Thank you. It's great to be here.
It's wonderful to have you here. And I'm wondering, for our listeners, could you share with us an overview of the McNair Scholars Program?
Yeah, definitely. So the McNair Scholars Program is a program designed to help students get ready for graduate school. Kind of the two big pillars of the McNair Scholars Program are graduate school admission and graduate school success. One of our goals is to get students ready for graduate school, but also make sure they're going to be successful when they get there. So we do this through a variety of things. We have scholars that do faculty-mentored research projects with the goal of presenting their research at different conferences and events that kind of highlight and showcase their skills and abilities and why they're going to be a great fit for graduate school. So big goal of McNair is getting students ready for those next steps at graduate school and what that might kind of entail after they're done here with their 4 years at Siena.
I'm really struck by the fact that you yourself are and have been a McNair Scholar. How do you think that prepares you as the group's leader?
Yeah, I think it's a great experience to have, kind of taking over this role recently. I started the director position back in August. I think having that knowledge of going through the program helps me relate to students and our scholars in a lot of ways, just because I've been in their shoes and kind of done and gone through the McNair journey. It definitely was a little bit of a transition. So I started working with McNair right after I finished my bachelor's degree while I was in my master's program. So it was definitely a little bit of a transition at first, kind of getting introduced to the role and getting involved with McNair. But I think with where I'm at now with McNair, currently as the director, it gives me a lot of insight into kind of some of the needs that our scholars have and things that they go through, which I think can be really, really unique to have that experience from. And it's cool to go full circle. Like I loved the McNair program when I was in the program, so it's cool to go full circle and in some ways give back and kind of see it from both perspectives, the scholar side and now the staff side.
So if I were a student, when could I enter McNair?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have entry points for McNair at any point throughout your academic journey. So the research project that I talked about earlier typically happens throughout a scholar's junior year. But we have a pre-McNair program that we call our McNair Academy for first-year, sophomore scholars that can apply and kind of get a little bit of a runway into McNair. So
great.
Yeah.
And what do some of those activities entail?
Yeah. So for the first and second year scholars, we really focus on like getting ready for research and also kind of breaking down like who is Ronald McNair, what is the McNair Scholars Program, why do we do the things that we do. So that's kind of the big goal of the first 2 years with the Academy with the first year and sophomore scholars is kind of introducing them to some of the things that they're going to see throughout their junior and senior years of McNair with like research, getting ready to present research, things like that.
Right. And certainly we know that McNair is named after the astronaut who was lost in the 1986 Challenger explosion. Yeah. What are some of the changes you witness, either individually or collectively among the scholars, as they make their progress through the program?
Yeah. It's really cool to kind of watch scholars grow and develop. Like the best day every year is graduation day in a lot of ways, just to kind of like, it's bittersweet. Like it's awesome to see scholars go on and achieve and get ready for those next steps. But it's also, we've gone through so much together, and it's kind of sad to see them go in some ways. But the development's incredible. Like the graduation day in so many ways is like my favorite day to kind of see with the scholars, just because it's cool to have that like culminating moment that encompasses everything that we've done. But when we see scholars develop, it's amazing to see scholars come in who, you know, sometimes struggle to navigate undergrad and are ready to kind of rock and roll at the graduate level and are ready to succeed. And I think one of the biggest development pieces is understanding the application landscape and how to navigate relationships with faculty, because it's much different than sometimes you'll see here at the undergrad level, and understanding like the role that faculty play and like the role that the specific programs are going to be involved in, like looking for programs sometimes instead of like schools can be huge, like looking for specific programs of interest that have faculty that are doing things similar to what your interests are is a big piece in kind of deciding what's going to be the best fit. And it's cool to have like those scholars go through that and see those light bulb moments of like, oh, this is like what we need to be looking for when we're looking at what's next for graduate school.
That's terrific. And do you see them also take on that role and responsibility as the researcher?
Yes. Yeah. Research is interesting. So for me personally, going through McNair, like the McNair Scholars Program was one of my first times really going through an independent research project. I worked with Dr. Tom Wasmer. He was my faculty mentor and gave me a ton of insight into kind of the research process. But it was my first time doing research outside of like a class project.
Yes.
And so it's cool to see scholars in some ways find ownership into their project and what they're doing. One of the beautiful things about McNair is it's really individualized to scholars and what it is that they want to do.
Yes.
So the research for our scholars in a lot of ways is hopefully going to be something that they're passionate about and interested in. For me, it was like the first time I've really been like, wow, this research thing is cool, right? Like I remember doing like research for like specific classes before, but like it takes a different level of ownership when you design and develop the project with the help of a faculty mentor. And so watching them kind of take ownership of their research process and like the skills that you learn through doing research is incredible. Like the time management, the adaptability, like being able to see the challenges that you may have to overcome and how do you adapt to those is, I think, some incredibly valuable skills, especially as students get ready for the next level of graduate school too. But yeah, the ownership that students take of their projects and like the development of their skills and time management, organization is so cool to see throughout their research process.
Absolutely. And it really comes down to agency.
Yes.
Even at the point that they decide, you know what, I want to become a McNair Scholar and I want to learn more about that. And then it really culminates with that research project.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with any research project, that they learn that it's okay at different points to hate your topic.
Yes. Yeah.
So how do you work with them to kind of navigate those moments that feel like roadblocks but actually open up new doors?
Yeah. One thing we see with scholars a lot is imposter syndrome. That's something we navigate quite a bit. And that is some ways highlighted throughout research, especially when we're going to conferences and presenting at places. But there's definitely going to be times throughout the research process where it gets tough and research gets hard and you hit roadblocks.
Yes.
And the biggest thing is talking through it with scholars and navigating like, yes, this piece that we've hit here of the research process is difficult, but let's talk about ways we can navigate that because the best project is a done project, right, in a lot of ways. And so the goal is to get them finished so they can go highlight their skills and abilities, but the roadblocks are inevitable. There's always things that come up with research, those things that we don't always expect.
Right.
And it's kind of working through, like, how do we be adaptable? Okay, this is the roadblock we've hit. Let's sit down. I love brainstorming. So let's sit down, let's brainstorm, let's think about some ideas of ways we can flex, adapt, counteract, whatever it is that we have to get past this. And I think that in itself is a beautiful skill to have and kind of develop with scholars. But yeah, research comes with many difficulties and being able to adapt to that is huge, but we see it often. There's definitely, one of the things we see with scholars a lot too is they come in with these fantastic ideas of research, and we have to sometimes narrow it down and make sure it's going to be a manageable project too, because there are so many things that kind of we can do with our research projects, but let's make sure it's manageable. We can get some really valuable results and go present on those results as well.
And that sometimes if the project isn't going smoothly, we sometimes internalize that.
Yes.
So how do you help them recognize that failures will happen, but they're not permanent?
That's a great question. That is a very good question. I think a big piece with that is when we talk about research in a lot of ways, we talk about the flexibilities that have to come with it and like just because things don't happen like we initially expected doesn't mean that it's a failure on your part, right? There's a lot of intricacies and lurking things that we don't always notice when we start the research process that we kind of learn throughout. And research in a lot of ways is a big learning experience, and being able to adapt to that, but also to separate yourself from the research. It's so easy for scholars to get so tied into and invested into their project. And it's important, I think, too, to be able to take that step back and separate, okay, just because my research project didn't go exactly like I expected doesn't mean that my journey's affected majorly by this in some ways.
Right. A lot of major discoveries have happened because of accidents and because of the unintended.
100%, yeah.
And what really strikes me about the program is the strong cohort feeling.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us a little about how you and your team really foster that among the students?
Yeah. I think the cohort model that we have is in some ways what makes us really successful. I think tying back into one of your earlier questions, Gina, about kind of my experiences with the program, I had a fantastic time in McNair. The cohort that I went through McNair with, I still talk to regularly to this day. I still talk to them, we text, we call, we check in. It's cool to kind of give updates on things that we're doing, when people are starting a master's program or graduating or they've started their PhD. It's cool to check in and have that community that you can touch base with and be able to connect with on a different academic level than sometimes you have when you're involved with athletics or things like that. And so I think knowing that and realizing that the cohort piece was such an integral part for my success, I think it helped with my sense of belonging and sense of community within McNair. But knowing that, kind of going through the program, was a big factor in decisions of a lot of things that we do to help students develop that sense of community. So we have students go on events together. Our conferences that we go to are huge. We just took 8 scholars to Cincinnati, University of Cincinnati conference a couple weekends ago.
Great.
Which was a great experience. We got a chance to ride down there together, stay in a hotel together for a couple nights. It was a Friday to Saturday, so kind of a quick trip. We left Friday morning, came back Sunday.
Sure.
But a great chance for them to kind of connect and kind of collaborate outside of their traditional classroom setting, which is, I think, an awesome experience.
That's great. And are they collaborating with one another, other scholars from different schools?
A little bit of both, actually.
Excellent.
Yes. Yeah. So they'll connect with each other a lot. It's awesome to see the way the relationships develop. One of my favorite things of McNair is to see how our scholars kind of connect when we travel and do these things. But they also do get a chance to connect with other people from other institutions, whether it be faculty or other scholars. There's a great example I can think of a couple of years ago where we went to the University of Maryland. We usually go out there every spring. And there was a girl who was really interested in one of our scholars' research on the mental health of student athletes. And so she was from McNair Scholar from Boise State. And so she got a chance to connect, and they talked for a good 20, 30 minutes, exchange contact info, and have tried to stay connected, I've heard, throughout graduate school, which is really cool.
Terrific.
But I think going on the trips is a huge piece in developing that cohort bond. But also, too, we do a summer internship before the semester starts. That is where scholars really develop their research projects. They're long days. But I think that's where scholars really get a chance to connect and kind of bond in some ways. It's like an 8 to 5 or 9 to 4 kind of vibe. It's a full day. So they're together from morning to night. We eat meals together. I think breaking bread and eating with people is huge, and I think that's an important piece as well. But we try to do most things together as a group for that. We'll eat meals together. We'll have classes together. We'll have time to work together. I think just being so connected throughout that week is a great spot to start those connections. And I see them develop drastically as we go to conferences and things like that throughout the semester as well.
That's terrific. So if they enter as a first year or even a sophomore, are they already thinking about graduate school?
Yep.
Oh, that's terrific.
Yes.
And does it matter what their major is?
No. So one thing, that's one of the joys of McNair is that we have scholars doing a variety of different things. We have psych majors, bio majors, business majors, graphic design, criminal justice. So we serve scholars looking to go to graduate school in a variety of fields. But the big goal of McNair, the big tenet is graduate school. If you want to go to graduate school, we can get you ready for that.
Sure.
So if they're interested in graduate school, we'll start the process as early as first-year scholars and kind of get them started with their McNair journey.
That's great. And so if I'm a student listening and I'm interested, how could I contact you? How could I see if I'm eligible?
Yep. So a great way to contact me, email is the best way to reach me. It's twillis1@sienaheights.edu. We have a McNair website. If you just search Siena Heights McNair Scholars Program, you'll be able to pop it up and see it, which has a lot of good info on our program, eligibility requirements, some of the things that we do with scholars. It's a great hub for kind of any McNair info that you've got as well.
That's terrific.
Yep.
And as you look ahead, what are some big picture goals for the program?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for the program in general, one of our big goals is to help scholars get funding for graduate school. One thing that I recognize and realize as we get students ready for the next steps is a big factor in deciding where they go is also going to be what's the most affordable option.
Sure.
So one thing, I think one of our goals and one thing that we want to focus on is helping students leave with a funded offer for graduate school immediately after graduating.
That's terrific.
So that's one of our big goals now, is to navigate that realm and help students navigate the funding realm and understand that it's different than it is at undergrad. And how do you find funding? What are assistantships, teaching assistantships, research assistantships, fellowships? How do you get those? How do you find those? I mean, I've been blessed and was able to get a part of the McNair Graduate Fellowship at Oklahoma State, which is plays a big factor in me being able to go there and the affordability piece of that. So understanding that and realizing that like the financial piece is huge and helping students decide where they go is a really big next step for us. And we've been focused on this for a while, for a couple of years, and we've been really successful. We've had scholars go on and get fully funded offers, and it's an incredible thing to see. But I think as we continue to develop McNair, that is a big priority for us, is making sure that students can navigate that, because we want to put students in the best position to be successful.
Yes.
And being able to navigate finding funding for grad school is one way we can definitely do that.
Excellent. Well, thank you so
Yes.
much, Trevor. This has been wonderful to talk about the McNair Scholars Program.
Yeah, thank you for the time. I appreciate it. I love to talk about McNair, so I appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk about it and kind of spread the word about what we do with McNair here. And we also partner with Adrian College in Aquinas as well.
Yes.
So it's cool to kind of connect and collaborate and talk about what we do with McNair.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
In this next segment, we'll hear from two outstanding McNair scholars, McKenna Meisenbach and Jordan Harris. McKenna is a senior majoring in exercise science with a minor in psychology. Through the McNair program, she has conducted research on the effects of music on sports performance and mood. And she's presented her findings at prestigious universities and conferences across the country. McKenna is also preparing for a future in sports psychology and exercise physiology, with plans to attend graduate school soon. Jordan Harris is a senior here at Siena. He is a thrower for the male track and field team, looking to become a national champion. He is also a psychology major with a goal to go on to get his doctorate in counseling psychology, becoming a counselor with a future goal of becoming a professor. For his research, his culminating study is entitled College Instructors' Perceptions of Letter Grading and Its Effect on Students. He has had the opportunity to travel to a few different conferences across the nation, including one coming up in mid-November and even a summer internship. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi, Dr. Rossetti. Thank you so much for having us on the podcast today.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to have both of you here, and I'm curious, what inspired you to join the McNair Scholars Program? And I'll throw that over to you, Jordan, first.
I'd say for me, what inspired me to join is kind of like pretty much like my goals with graduate school.
Mm-hmm.
So in the psych program, you have to do a research project, whether you're a part of McNair or not.
Yes.
And I found out that with McNair, you also do a research project, but they give you opportunities to like meet with different graduate school possible directors or go on different conferences. So it was kind of like, if I have to do the research anyway, I might as well find a way to like get help while doing it and like that extra step. So that was my overall goal, or like why I joined McNair.
Sure. How about you, McKenna?
Yeah, to kind of replicate what Jordan also said, I came into Siena, I was playing sports, I was very well involved, and I knew ultimately I wanted to go on to graduate school to get a master's or a PhD, somewhat of the area of psychology, exercise science. I saw a lot of my upperclassmen peers and the opportunities they received being a part of the McNair Scholars Program. And ultimately, I knew I wanted to do research at some point, so seeing the opportunities my peers had gave me the drive to want to also be in the program. So with that, I got to see how people presented their research at many universities, and
great.
I knew to be able to go on to graduate school having research and getting the professional developmental skills I need would be very beneficial for applications.
That's fantastic. Which year were you when you both entered?
For me, I was a sophomore.
Okay, and McKenna?
Same as a sophomore as well.
And so how did you feel when first entering? Do you think it was helpful that you entered as sophomores as opposed to maybe as first years or even juniors?
I would say definitely. I mean, entering as a sophomore, I feel like gave me a chance to like get more comfortable with the program and what was going to be expected, because most of, if not all, the work goes into your junior year.
Yes.
So it was like kind of like getting that small introductory step instead of just like kind of being thrown right in, like do this work or be ready with this research project. So that's why I liked sophomore year, that preparation that went into it.
Terrific. How about you, McKenna?
Yes, we have what's called the McNair Academy. So in my sophomore year, a little bit kind of what Jordan said, we come in and we get to work with the staff and some other peers, and we get to essentially learn the skills we need to do research. We get to kind of start brainstorming ideas. We get to pick our mentor, and it's a great way to get our feet wet before we are kind of thrown into the water and expect to kind of know what to do with research. So it's a very supportive environment to go in your sophomore year and kind of be in the academy and get the feel for things.
That's fantastic. And now that you're seniors, how do you interact with those who are perhaps in the academy, and certainly those scholars who are juniors and are really in the throes of their projects?
I'd say for me, it's mostly like kind of like that motivation piece. It's kind of like being that example that, yes, it's going to be hard. Yes, it's going to be probably a couple sleepless nights, but you can get through it, and that we are living examples of it. So just always reminding them that you can do it. Like regardless of how hard it may seem, you can keep going.
Right.
Yes, for me too, it's about being that role model. So how I see my peers, I want them to continue to look up to me. So I continue to work hard, be that example, learn to step out of your comfort zone and research too. And a big thing to get into graduate school is just to show people how bad you want it and to work hard. So me and Jordan are actually both ambassadors for the program. So being the leaders is very important to us. And we really go out of our way to be mentors for them, sit and work with them, whether that's how to find a mentor, how to write a personal statement. So we take that leadership role very serious because we want our peers to be as successful as possible. And especially with McNair, a lot of students who are offered the opportunity to get in the program are students who do excel academically in leadership, and they are a lot of the qualifications to get in. Maybe you're underrepresented in, you're low income, you're first generation. So me and Jordan take that very seriously. How can we best support those students?
That's fantastic. And how do you see the students evolve from the moment they enter the program to the point where they're seniors and graduating? And you could certainly talk about your own evolution as well as what you've witnessed among your peers.
So for me, I'd say that it kind of went from like moving away from like maybe like the fear aspect. I feel like with a lot of different things, like going to conferences, presenting my research, even doing the research, I was just like very nervous and very like unsure of like how it would go. I say like becoming a senior and actually going through like presenting different places and going to different conferences by myself or with my other cohort, it kind of just made me like almost feel like I was ready for anything. Like I actually am ready for graduate school, and it's not so much a scary thing that's so far away 4 years from now. It's like here, I'm a senior now, and I've done it, and I feel like comfortable with going to continue to do it.
That's great.
Truly seeing how each student develops and grows throughout the program is truly a beautiful thing. Looking down at my peers, just seeing the skills they develop. Just this year, this semester, I've been attending the McNair Academy meetings, and just seeing how comfortable they're getting, how confident they're getting their research, their skills. They're developing how to professionally send emails, communicate with each other and staff. It truly is a beautiful thing. And as a senior, presenting is something that I've seen just the confidence I've gained. When I came in, I was very nervous. I just presented today for Common Dialogue Day. So I was walking around, I was clicking, I had the microphone, and I still remember about a year and a half ago when I did my first presentation. I was staring hard at my note cards. I was a nervous wreck. So just the growth in that where we're confident in our material, we're confident in our passions, and we have those skills that we didn't have before. That's communication, leadership, engaging with an audience. So it's really a great thing, the skills we develop in the program.
That's terrific, and that's a point I'd like us to continue. How did you come into that sense of your research voice and your sense of agency? How did you go from where you were as sophomores to where you are now?
I think a lot of what helped was reassurance from our director, Heather, at the time.
Yes.
I feel like that she kind of really harped on that, like, yes, there are a lot of smart people. When you go to these conferences, there are going to be plenty of people with PhDs, master's degrees, but you are the one that did this research.
Yes.
Like, you spent the nights, you went and found the 70 articles and, like, read through it. So it's kind of like just being reassured that I know what I'm talking about and that she was there and like other cohort members there to like reinforce that like it sounds good, like you're not like messing up, you're not saying anything wrong, like be confident in what you've done. And that really helped me like just gain that like, okay, I can do research and I know my topic.
Excellent.
Yeah, the McNair Scholars Program is a very rigorous program too. So I think a lot of it as students, as we see it, is how bad do you want it?
Yes.
Are you able to push through? And something I've learned especially is stay true to yourself and stay true to your passions. So the research project I created, I try to focus on the 3 topics I like. That's sports, psychology, and music. And when you do these projects, you want to find something you are passionate about.
Yes.
So that's something too that I've learned is just to stay true to yourself. And a lot of times when you go to conferences, everyone's very intelligent.
Right.
People will question maybe even your abilities or what are you exactly going to do with this and stuff. So as long as you stay true to your passions and keep going, you're going to complete it and you're going to go far with it too.
And how do you talk to your classmates about that in the program when they hit those roadblocks with their research where it may not be going in the direction they had anticipated? How do you encourage them to move through the challenge?
I feel like sometimes it's just realizing that can be the beauty of research. Like it may not always end exactly how you think, but it's like in going and like finding research articles and actually like doing it, you may find a whole brand new avenue.
Yes.
So it's kind of like, don't be discouraged because your original topic didn't work out, but remember that you've still done something great and that in itself is like an accomplishment. So just don't lose hope that everything's wrong or it didn't go exactly as planned, because nothing really goes exactly as planned.
Exactly.
Yeah, just to piggyback off that too, things we learn too is grit, perseverance, integrity, never giving up. That's something in research that I've definitely learned in my project. For example, all the qualitative data is what saved my project. So the quantitative data, I didn't find anything significant. I honestly just wanted to give up. I was very passionate about it, and you're like, darn it, I didn't get what I wanted. So you've got to keep going and see things at a different angle too. The world's just not clear. You got to see things from different angles. And luckily, again, I tell everyone, I use my research for an example. When I looked at the qualitative data I had, I was able to actually find answers, and find things that I didn't see originally. So just telling my peers and classmates, just never give up, push through, always see a different side of things, and always reach out for help. It's always good to reach out. Maybe someone else can see something that someone else didn't see. It's always good to have support, tell you to keep going, because if you truly love what you're doing, you won't give up.
Absolutely. And both of you are so well accomplished as students in a variety of areas, in the classroom, on the athletic field. How does the McNair Scholars Program amplify that and more?
So a lot of what I came into college with, I feel like was kind of like this more so sports background. I feel like I was always a pretty good student, but I feel like I was a lot more focused on, let me be an athlete student.
Yes.
I feel like McNair has kind of reminded me of that student athlete kind of mindset. It's given me all the tools to essentially refine what being a student is about. Being a student is about being able to sometimes crunch or sometimes be able to like time manage or like make time for the things that you need to. So McNair has given me the chance to like really bolster that, because even when it does come to track, sometimes I may have like a meet but need to do other assignments. I may have a practice but still need to go to a meeting or something like that. Right. So McNair has just given me that chance to like really make a schedule and challenge me academically to keep reminding myself you're a student athlete first before anything.
That's great.
Yeah, McNair has definitely taught me skill sets and lessons that I don't think I would have gotten anywhere else. For example, presenting at conferences, how to truly connect with people, listen to people's stories is something I don't think I would have gotten anywhere else. You truly get to have the opportunity to go around the United States, meet people, hear people's stories, hear what they're passionate about, share ideas, and relate with people that you don't necessarily get in other situations. With McNair, too, kind of what Jordan also talked about a little bit with time management skills. McNair is a lot, and I think of it as an extra major. So that's something, too, where it's like I've hit rock bottom, I've hit walls, but you've got to keep going because it's truly what you're passionate about, and that's what's going to get you where you want to go. So it's taught me a lot of different lessons, perseverance, also reaching out for help, reaching out to the cohorts above me is something that I've been doing a lot. and because you get to see their success stories, what McNair has done for them, and it's been so beautiful to see they're getting fully funded opportunities. Their research projects went so well. They're learning how to network, so reaching out for help has been awesome, as well as just learning how to properly communicate with staff and faculty, as well as reaching out to other professionals to get advice, and Julie just had to network really well.
That's great. So if I'm a student listening to this podcast, how would you encourage me to find out more about McNair?
I think some of the best ways would honestly just be like the website. I think that's a great resource. I think that a lot of teachers also have a lot of information nowadays about McNair. So like McNair is very connected with like the mentor program. A lot of our mentors are just regular teachers. So sometimes it can be through teachers. It can be through the website. I feel like just if you type in the name McNair, there's really no way that you can miss it. So if you're interested, I'd say just put in like a couple minutes and that can give you can get a meeting with Trevor. And, like, he's also very helpful on, like, informing about McNair and telling people, like, the chances that exist within it.
That's great.
Yeah, I think it's as easy as what Jordan said, also going to the website and just kind of seeing the scholars that are on the page, reaching out to them. And it's really good, too, because you can really interact with them and hear about their experience. Everyone in the program is really sweet. So I'm sure all of us scholars, and including ambassadors, me and Jordan, will take the time to sit with you and talk about our experiences and stories and see if it would fit and see if it would be positive for that student. Also, just walking into the McNair space, the office, all the staff are very welcoming and kind. They will find time to set up a meeting with you or connect that student to a McNair Scholar to reach out and see if they can get some guidance.
Well, this is wonderful. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, McKenna, for coming in and telling us more about your experiences with the McNair Scholars Program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Provost Podcast. Be sure to join us next time as we continue to celebrate the accomplishments and the stories of Siena Heights University. Until then, stay competent, purposeful, and ethical saints.